Welcome to this video on concept mapping. I've created this video for a virtual conference on teaching and learning with the University System of Georgia. In the next few minutes, I'll give you a brief introduction to concept mapping and its benefits for both teaching and learning. I'll share with you some structures for concept mapping to help you think about your own courses, and we'll walk you through my own use of concept maps with students in a class of my own. By the end of this video, you should be well prepared to leverage the benefits of concept mapping for both your own teaching and to help your students learn. Concept maps are, at their core, visual representations of information. They are all about making connections between different components and information explicit and clear with a combination of shape and text. They can also take many forms, and there typically is no single correct way to create a concept map. The point is to develop a structure that works for your content and your brain. In teaching, it is also helpful to create something that can be simplified for the purposes of helping students gain entry into what is often a complicated map of connections and ideas that are well entrenched in your knowledge base as the expert, but less obvious to the novice learner. The great thing about concept maps is that they can have significant impact on both instructors in their planning for a course and students as they are learning, and both can use it as a way to gain deeper insight into the content of a course. For example, concept maps provide a big picture view of the shape and nature of a course, which also starts to offer a window into the course level learning objectives for a course. Concept maps can expose gaps in the way you present material to students, revealing otherwise unnoticed expert blind spots you bring with you to your teaching. They explicitly identify connections between ideas and can help you identify key areas for assessment of student learning, both in the process of helping them learn and as part of summative assessment. Concept maps highlight essential relationships and provide a framework to help students organize their learning. They also leverage the way the brain encodes information by providing both text and images, thereby almost surely leading to increased learning and retention. In other words, concept maps really are a powerful tool for both teaching and learning and can positively impact both your approach to instruction and your students' ability to learn. In case you're still not convinced, let me briefly share with you the results of one recent study on the benefits of drawing as a learning aid for students. This study comes from a faculty member and a recent graduate student at the University of Georgia. In this study, 120 undergraduate students were given a total of 28 minutes to study a lesson on the human respiratory system. The control or restudy group was instructed to study in a way that would help them perform well on a test. The remaining 3 groups were directed to study for 20 minutes in a way that would help them teach it to a peer, either through explanation, drawing, or both. For the remaining 8 minutes, these 3 groups were then asked to record a video lesson in their assigned mode, while the control group continued to study. 1 week later, all participants returned for a post-test consisting of retention questions, drawing-focused questions, and questions testing the ability to transfer knowledge to new situations. In this chart, you can see the results from 3 of the 4 groups, although the results hold up for the draw-only group as well. As you can see, the Explain and Draw group outperformed all other groups across the board. In other words, this paper showed that there is distinct benefit associated with having our students engage in drawing maps of concepts as part of their learning. As an instructor, one useful exercise for you might be to create a concept map for your course. Since there is no single correct way to do this, and since different brains tend to process and encounter things a bit differently, there is no easy algorithm I can give you for creating a concept map of your own. I can, however, provide you with some examples to get you thinking. For instance, your brain and content might lend themselves to something that fits into a branching structure of some sort, although be forewarned that the connections and cross-connections may not behave in so orderly a fashion. Sometimes it makes sense to think about your concept map with your course-level learning outcomes at the center. Sometimes a particular shape will provide you with a starting point that you can build on from there. You may even find yourself disposed to a more linear representation of things, although once again, note that the process of getting there can be quite messy and chaotic. However you choose to get started, just make sure you give yourself some time and space to think and permission to revise and re-revise as you go. To finish up, I'm going to share an example of the use of concept mapping in a course of my own, a philosophy course called Science, Technology, and Values. This course lent itself to representation through a simple triangle with an overarching course goal that students would be able to articulate their view of the relationship between STEM pursuits and social and religious values. In my course, I used concept maps in 3 ways: on the first day of class, embedded in content delivery, and as a way to engage students actively in their learning and assessment. On the first day of class, I included the course triangle in my syllabus and used it as a mechanism through which I was able to introduce the course structure and purpose. It became the hook on which we were able to hang everything else we did from that point forward. Throughout the course, I made use of our triangle as a way to chart our progress. As we learned, we entertained possible revisions and additions to the simplified concept map and raised questions about how different pieces might or might not fit in. I also engaged students in specific activities along the way. For example, both early and late in the semester, I had students work in groups to draw their version of the relationships between our core course concepts. And instead of a term paper for the course, I had students create a poster depicting their view of the relationships, with some specific prompts included to direct their work. Looking at their work early in the semester, you can see that the simplification of the original triangle remains, but students were showing evidence of beginning to think things through. By the final third of the semester, they had significantly increased the complexity of their thinking and were beginning to generate metaphors to capture the complex concepts and relationships we were studying. And by the end of the semester, they were turning in projects that were not only a true delight to grade, but that reflected a significant depth in their thinking and their understanding. They were building metaphors, creating connections beyond the specifics of what we'd encountered in class, and demonstrating creativity and responsibility in their thinking. One student created this map, attempting to pull together every single thing we talked, learned, or read about during the semester in a highly organized fashion. This concept map, like so many others, effectively showed me what was in my students' brain without requiring them to master paper writing, without requiring hours of reading and grading on my end. Some concept maps also retain the original course triangle, but in a far more sophisticated form. And of course, while I am showing you some of the best examples from my experience, of which I assure you there are many, it is worth noting that not all students turned in A-level work for this project. What I found uniformly across about 400 students was that they produced really wonderful and creative work that also accurately reflected their grasp of the concepts and connections I wanted them to grasp. They were easy to grade, and students reported that the project itself allowed them to engage in the content in ways that they would not have experienced had it been a more typical term paper or project for the course. We also held a final showcase in individual course sections, allowing students to celebrate each other's work and learn from one another. So, I encourage you to take an hour or two to create a course map of your own. Examine your map and use it to inform how you approach teaching your course and helping your students learn, and to engage students in the map, both to help them learn and to help them demonstrate what they have learned. And most of all, have some fun.